Hey there, Nancy here. And today I wanted to talk to you about growth mindset. Okay. And I know many people are like, okay. But I really wanted to touch on this topic for a few different reasons. One, I actually came across a podcast episode I did years ago that really just totally rocked my world and resonated with me, especially now. And two, right, we've got a lot of things changing in the world. We've got, AI, we've got the introduction to new and different programs, ways to automate all kinds of things within our business. And I just think it's so incredibly important that we have this conversation about growth mindset because, there are many people out there who have a very wonderful growth mindset. And then there are people who have a very fixed mindset. But lately, with all the things that have been going on, I've been seeing a big mixture, right, of people actually kind of reverting back to that fixed mindset and feeling a little like, I don't want to change or learn or grow or kind of having that opposing viewpoint on things. So I just wanted to really circle back around and share a few tips on how to get back right to having a growth mindset. And then also, if this is a new topic to you or something that you've never even learned about, jump on and we'll go on that ride together. So, for people who really want to, unlock their full potential, right? Meaning you want to feel unstuck, you want to embrace challenge, you want to learn from your mistakes, you want to really have that love of learning. That's what growth mindset's all about. A growth mindset is, one's ability and intelligence, or is that one's ability and intelligence can be developed and improved through hard work, effort, learning, all those different things, right? We're not stuck in one place, we're open to growing and learning. So I think it's just, again, such an important topic to talk about right now. So there are a few tips I wanted to share whenever it comes to developing a growth mindset. Now, before I even dive into that, let me kind of go on the opposite side of that and explain what a fixed mindset is. So, a fixed mindset is the belief people have that their abilities and their intelligence, are set, right? It can't be changed. If you've ever talked to the people who are like, "Oh, I went to school for engineering and, it's just all I know, whatever." And they're not open to learning new and different things and that's kind of just like their skill set. They can only ever get a job in that thing. You might see it that way. You might see it for example, a student who's struggling with like a math problem or something like that. And, a growth mindset would say, this is really hard, but I know I can figure out. I can learn from my mistakes. I can ask for help. I'm going to try different ways to do this. Someone with a fixed mindset is quick to blame. Right. They're resistant to feedback. They don't want to make mistakes. They might say, I'll never be able to understand this. This is just not something I'm good at. So what I want you guys to think about is how can we flip that on its head? How can we actually lean in, right, and have a little bit more of a growth mindset, especially now with lots of different changes, okay? And just so you guys know, the world, technology, everything, and marketing in general, entrepreneurship, everything is always changing, okay? Surprise. So if you thought that you were going to be able to sit down and get comfortable and just, ride the wave, that's not the way it works, right? We're in a constant state. In fact, I love, Scott always says, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, So anyway, so here are some tips on how to really develop and really nurture your growth mindset. Number one, embrace challenges, embrace things that come your way. Instead of avoiding things that are hard, embrace them as opportunities for growth and learning. Okay. In fact, I see this as one of the biggest things sometimes that entrepreneurs struggle with, especially in stage one of entrepreneurship and starting up. They struggle with that huge learning curve of tech and different things that they need to learn. And I see a lot of people, in fact, right out of the gate, right? It's a red flag I can see if someone has so much ego and someone is just not willing to do the work to learn and kind of park it and understand that they're going to have to learn. And it's not going to be like this matrix thing where they can just download and then they're going to have all the answers all, at once. It's not going to work that way. So if we can develop that growth mindset, We know that this is a challenge. This is something like a mountain that we've got to climb up, but we're open to learning and growing. That's the mindset I want you to have. Okay. Number two is learn from your mistakes. Okay. Learning that failure is good. And it is a a place where you can really learn and grow from. It can be a very huge shift for some people. And in fact, I rewind back to my leadership days years ago, and I came from not a lot, right? I'm actually the first to graduate in my family. It was a really big uphill battle for me to even go to college and get to where I was. And I felt like an imposter. I felt like, oh my gosh, they're going to figure me out. Like I'm not meant to be here. I'm not supposed to be this person, or managing teams or whatever. And I felt the need to be perfect, which was the wrong thing. And in fact, we're actually reading the book in our program called The Radical Leap by Steve Farber. Highly recommend it. And it talks a lot about how, as a leader, you don't have to be perfect. Sometimes you got to fall on your sword and just be a real person. And that's what people need. And, being truthful and being yourself and, being authentic and learning from mistakes is what makes you human. And it also makes you relatable. So being able to show your team that and being able to have that humility is huge. Okay. So learning from mistakes is number two. Three is focus on your effort over the outcome. Okay. So value the effort and the hard work that you put into a task rather than just the outcome. And whenever I say this, I'm going to give you an example how you could be a leader and really foster this in your people. So if you were to focus, instead of saying to someone, oh my gosh, you're so smart, you're so good at that, you're so, whatever. Instead, you want to focus on like the journey and the effort and the stuff in between, right? That could look like your research and your skills and whatever. They've grown so much throughout the years. That's incredible, rather than just saying, oh, you're so smart. Those types of things, right? Realize that in yourself. All that effort, that time, that energy that you put into watching videos like this, listening to podcasts, learning the different things has helped you improve. Okay. So it's not just about the destination, it's about that journey in between. The other tip, okay, for developing a growth mindset is feedback, seeking feedback. Okay. So this is also something that, I struggled with in the past as well. Because I wanted to be so perfect, I didn't want to hear that I wasn't doing a great job, or that, there was something that could be improved upon. And I will tell you that every single time I receive feedback, maybe sometimes there were a couple, pieces of feedback where it was like, yeah, that's kind of not really applicable, or that's not really, the best feedback or constructive. But then there was other feedback where, I think about it today and it's like, wow, if I would have just been open to receiving it and I would have just listened, I probably would have been so much of a better leader. So seek the feedback. Don't be afraid. Okay. If I, again, were to go back in time and as a leader, I think I would have wanted that feedback more often. Give me some feedback. How can I be better? How can I help? Like those kinds of things. If it feels icky, I always say that as a leader and a business owner and an entrepreneur, lean into it. Okay. Figure out what feels icky. So dig in. In fact, in our mastermind program, one thing that we started doing that has been so incredibly impactful is sending out every year a feedback form. And it's for everyone who is in our program, right? We have over about 30, plus people right now, and we have different cohorts. And I promise you, every single time I send that feedback form, we get solid gold. Okay. Not just stuff where people are sharing, okay, well, I love this and that's great and whatever. We get such solid gold of things that we can start doing to make the program even better. And so, where some people might be like, I don't want to hear it. If there's anything we're not doing, I don't want to, because they want to not hear any of that. Again, that's ego. We want to seek feedback. We want to grow. We want to be better. And I will tell you that every time I put out that form, our program keeps getting better and better and better. So definitely seek that feedback. And then the last tip I'll give you is, cultivate a love of learning. In fact, I really love this quote. It was learn to be a learn it all, not a know it all. And that was from Sean Shepherd. He was actually the guest that I interviewed years ago, and he was an investor, and had a lot of different startups. And, his big thing was learn. Don't sit there and say, oh, I know everything and I am, all up here or whatever. That's when you lose touch. That's whenever you fall into that fixed mindset and you really miss out on so many other things that you could do and be and ways that you could grow. So be open to learning. I wrote down a couple other notes, right? Learn how to have, oh, this is a good one. Learn how to have those difficult conversations. Okay. And again, entrepreneurs hiring virtual teams sometimes can be very hard. If you're not giving your team the feedback, if you're not setting the expectations, if you're not having those weekly meetings, right? I always recommend that at least you're meeting with your team once a week. It's going to be rough, and I say that again, if you're a leader in general, if you can't have those difficult conversations and remove the emotion and actually be willing to say, you know what? I'm going to remove myself. I'm going to look at this as a whole. I'm going to take feedback. I'm going to accept. And then I'm going to obviously be very factual and not emotional about the feedback that I'm giving. It's a huge gift. And it's a gift that I think some of the best leaders, if I go back in time, the best leaders that I ever had in my life were the ones that took the time to give me that feedback to make me better. If I didn't receive the feedback that I did, would have been, it would not have been good. Okay. So those are just a few things to get started. It's important. It takes time, it takes effort, to kind of get back into, growing and developing your growth mindset. Again, if you're struggling with this and you're like, I'm just so stuck in it, and you're finding it hard to really break out of that, just go back to the tips that I just shared. Are you being open to learning? Are you, leading with ego? Check it out the door. Listen to people, have empathy, be willing to not be perfect. Okay. So I would love to share, I would love to hear your thoughts on, developing a growth mindset. In fact, one thing that I've always been really passionate about is how can we get people who have an entirely fixed mindset, right? Meaning they're very set in their ways. They're very much like, well, this is how it's always been and this is how it is, to actually get that awareness quicker, understand that they can learn, they can grow, they can really build any business and do anything that they want. How do we get people there quicker? So I would love to hear in the comments. Please share and make sure to like and then obviously subscribe. Would love to hear your feedback. So have a great day.